Hey, good evening, everybody. We're going to wait a few more minutes. We have Franklin Planning is going to join, and then we will get kicked off as soon as they are on the line. So hold tight.
Thank you.
There we go. I got it off. Okay.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I see Joey of Franklin Planning just joined us. I would probably ask everybody, if you don't mind, muting your microphones. That way we don't pick up any cross noise on the recording. All right, Joey, are you ready to begin, or should we wait a little longer?
It's up to y'all. If you want to wait another minute, that'd be fine. Or if you want to start, as long as we're recording and we can post the entire meeting later, that's fine.
Okay, well, we are recording, so we'll just go ahead and begin and see how we do. Sure. All right. Well, again, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining the meeting tonight. I'm Troy Gardner. I'm a landscape architect and land planner with Reagan Smith. Also on tonight's call, we have Scotty Burnick, who is also a landscape architect, and Brandon Baxter, the transportation engineer for this project. The site that we are talking about this evening is located along the south side of Southbury's Chapel Road, just east of Echo Estates and north of BGA. On this exhibit, you can see that the southern portion of the site, which is about 17 acres, is within the current city limits line, which is shown as the black line, kind of jogging through the site there. The northern portion of the site, which is about 36 acres, is in Williamson County, but is contiguous with the current city limits line and is within the purple urban growth boundary line, which you can see here. Because a portion of this site is within the county, we are proposing it to be annexed into the city. And once it's annexed, we will be requesting a rezone of the property to the city's zoning. To inform our design, we reviewed the guidance provided by Envision Franklin. The design concept for this site, as well as most of the other neighboring areas, is defined in Envision Franklin as large lot residential. You can see that green area here, and all the area around us is large lot residential. The large lot residential design concept reflects the established character of existing neighborhoods and often provides a transition between the city and the county. New development should have a minimum lot size of 1 acre or more to fit contextually with surrounding neighborhoods. Neighborhoods should be designed around natural features to highlight forested areas, hillsides and hilltops, streams, and tree rows. Some of the highlights of the large lot residential design concept are that the primary land use is for single family residential. The maximum building height is 2.5 stories, and that the minimum lot size is 1 acre. As mentioned earlier, the southern portion of the site is already within the city. You can see that here. It's this kind of whitish tan color. And it's zoned R1, which is residential 1. The R1 zoning district requires a minimum lot size of 30,000 square feet, a minimum lot width of 100 feet, and has a front setback of 60 feet, side setback of 25 feet, and a rear setback of 50 feet. So following our review of Envision Franklin and the site's current zoning, we studied the site's natural features and existing conditions. This exhibit that you see on the screen here is oriented so that the north is at the page right. So the orientation has changed from our initial slides. So we identified the wetland areas, which are shown here in green, and the stream areas, which are shown in blue, and have worked with TDEC to determine the appropriate buffers to protect these features. Both the wetlands and the streams will have a 30-foot Zone 1 buffer and a 30-foot Zone 2 buffer. Additionally, we identified areas with natural slopes over 20%, which that's the areas in the red, and areas with existing trees, and those are outlined in green. I realize those are kind of difficult to see on this plan against the aerial. There's also a small private cemetery located along the eastern property line, which will be preserved. And last, we applied the city's hillside overlay, shown in the light purple, and the 500-foot buffer to the hillside overlay, shown in the darker purple. With the guidance of Envision Franklin, the current zoning, and our analysis of the site's natural features in mind, we prepared this development plan that you see on screen. The plan proposes 16 single-family lots on 58 acres. In keeping with the large lot residential design concept of Envision Franklin, these lots will have a minimum lot size of 1 acre. However, lots located within the 500-foot hillside overlay buffer will have a minimum lot size of 2 acres. And again, that area is kind of here. You can see a purple line going through there. These lots will all be 2 acres or larger. These lot sizes fit contextually within the surrounding neighborhoods. Also, the access is proposed at 2 locations along South Berry's Chapel Road, one here, one here. There's also a road stub that's proposed to the west here, which aligns with existing Amsbury Lane located in Echo Estates, which sets up for a future possible connection at this location. Stormwater runoff will be managed by on-site stormwater ponds. There's one located here and a second located at the south of the plan here. And there's also an amenity lot proposed at the southern portion of the site in this orange color. The owners plan to build a private amenity center for the use of the neighborhood residents, as well as nature paths connecting from the amenity center along the stream banks and throughout the neighborhood and along the neighborhood perimeters. So we will be requesting 2 modifications of standards, and both of those are related to connectivity. The first that we're requesting is a modification of standards so that we are not required to make a connection to the south. Our neighbor to the south is Battleground Academy, and as you can see in this aerial, that area has already been developed and is used for their track and field as well as some other sports fields. So currently the way that's set up, there's really no road stubbed out to us for us to connect to. And so for that reason, we are requesting a modification of standards that would allow us to not make a connection there. And the other modification of standards we're requesting is also related to connectivity, and that's to not make a connection to the east. As we mentioned earlier, this eastern area is within the hillside overlay, as well as the 500-foot hillside overlay buffer, and there are streams located along this edge. So we don't really have a great opportunity without making a lot of disturbance to make a connection there. So for those reasons, we are also requesting a modification of standards for a connection to the east. As I mentioned before, though, we do have two northern connections and a western connection. Approximately 24 acres, or roughly 40% of the site, is proposed to be preserved as open space or natural area, which, of course, that's a substantial amount of preservation, especially considering that the proposed lot sizes are larger than many of the other residential developments in this area. Here, the light green shading shows the natural areas identified on earlier slides for the wetlands, streams, and hillside. The dark green shading identifies the proposed amenity lot and other open spaces throughout the neighborhood to be preserved. Currently, we are looking at doing 2 phases. Phase 1 would include all roadway, utility, infrastructure, etc., and as well as the first 9 lots. So you see that kind of shaded in this blue color. Phase 2 would be the remaining 7 lots shown in the orange. The homes in the neighborhood amenity center have not yet been designed. However, the owner and his design team will work closely with the city to ensure that the architecture is appropriate for the city and for this context. These examples that you see here are just that. They are examples of homes and neighborhood amenity centers. But like I said, you know, there will be more on that to come as we get further into this project. And I think this is our last slide, just making everyone aware of the upcoming key dates. So this coming Monday will be the initial submittal of the annexation, rezoning, and development plan, as well as the application for the joint conceptual workshop meeting. That joint conceptual workshop meeting will be held on January 25th at 5 p.m. Followed by the Planning Commission meeting will be on February 22nd at 7 p.m. And then we will go for 3 BOMA readings. The first one on March 12th at 7, the second one on March 26th at 7, and the third and final BOMA reading will be on April 9th. And with that, I will open it to anyone's questions.
Hi, this is Pamela. I live in Echo Estates, and I'm one of the houses that, of course, backs up to the property, and the creek runs through the back part of our property. Can you tell me a little bit? You were talking about a walking trail along the creek?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Let me see if I can zoom. Yeah. So you'll see here, this is, let me choose a different image.
Yeah, okay.
Give me 1 second. Here, maybe this one's a little better. So yeah, you can see this dashed brown line. That is the nature path trail. It's located in the Zone 2 stream buffer. So this lighter blue line, that's the creek you're referring to.
Yeah.
And we have a 30-foot buffer for Zone 1, and then we have a second 30-foot buffer for Zone 2. So we're allowed to have a little nature path there. Right now, that's not planned to be a paved path.
Okay.
I believe it's a mulch trail type situation. And so, yeah, but it will be on the neighborhood side. It will not be on the
Right.
side. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And show me, do you mind showing me exactly, like I'm at I'm in Echo Estates, so I'm like the third house on the right. So show me exactly where that area is. I want to make sure I'm looking at it correctly. So I would
Okay.
be,
Yeah. So these homes here are the ones that are in
Yep.
Echo Estates that border the project.
so I'm
Yes,
right
ma'am.
there. All right, that's what I thought. I wanted to make sure I was looking at it from the, when you said right side, I was like, okay, I think I know exactly where you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, did you have any other questions?
I don't think so. Oh, yeah. Do you mind telling me about where they Amesbury, so that whole neighborhood would come through that lot that's open in our neighborhood in Echo Estates, that's where it's going to connect to the new neighborhood, right?
So Echo Estates is here, where you see all the homes.
Right.
Our property line is here. So there
Okay.
is one parcel in between us and Echo Estates. So it looks like Amesbury and Echo Estates, they stubbed up this road here, this cul-de-sac, to come to the edge of their property. So we're
Right.
just proposing to do the same thing. We're going to stub up a road to the edge of our property. And then whoever this owner is, whenever they choose to develop, they'll have the option to connect from our stub to Echo Estates stub.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys didn't buy the full 70 acres. You bought 58 acres?
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
That's right.
Okay.
So it's actually
Okay.
composed of 3 parcels. There's one parcel kind of down here in this area, which is in the city of Franklin. There's a small parcel here, which is in the county, and there's a third larger parcel, which is also in the county.
All right. Sorry, my dogs went berserk. Turned off my mic. But yes, okay, I'm familiar with that. The McAllisters had bought a section of that. So, okay. All right, I'm tracking with you. Thanks.
Okay, good deal. Were there any other
Troy?
questions?
Yes, Troy. To be clear, so you're clear, anything past the pond is actually the preserve at Echo Estates. That is different.
Okay.
That is different than the development before the pond,
I see.
which is Echo Estates.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll update that.
So your conversation about connecting with Amesbury is a direct impact to the preserve at Echo Estates neighborhood.
Right.
Not Echo Estates. Got it. Okay.
Right.
That's
Okay,
well,
thanks for that
eventually
clarification.
Echo Estates, because there's only one way in, one way out. It's Echo Lane. For all of us at the preserve and Echo Estates, there's only one way in and one way out past Battleground Academy.
Mhm.
We don't have an option to Barry's Chapel from our neighborhood, nor do we want one.
Yes. Correct.
Okay, so the proposed layout doesn't make a connection, but it does stub a connection to the property line. So when this gets developed, there still won't be a connection from Echo Estates, but it will be stubbed up for a potential future connection.
Mm-hmm. So that's not within your realm of or scope of work. That is the other developer for those 14, 15 acres. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Troy. One other question, that developer that you're speaking of that has that other, how many acres is that sits between your property and the preserve at Echo Estates?
Yeah, sorry, I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah.
17 acres?
That's what we were told by another real estate agent who reached out to us. It was
Okay.
17 and it's supposed to be like 6 houses.
Right. So, Troy, just for your information, when they started to clear that ground here about 6 or 7 months ago, they opted to burn, which created a really dynamic pollution for the preserve at Echo Estates residents. We did not appreciate that. Because it's county land, the city could not do anything to help us. We would like to know from your perspective as a landscape architect, how do you plan to clear that land behind our pond and behind the Echo Estates neighbors and behind the preserve at Echo Estates few homes that are there, one of which is ours. How do you plan to clear that ground? Are you going to burn the existing trees and shrubs?
Yeah, I don't think that would be the intent. I think that, I mean, ultimately that will be up to the builder on how they will do that. But yeah, they should probably not be burning. And if so, they should be getting, their appropriate burn permits.
Well, because it's county land, they can get permits, but if the wind is blowing the wrong way, all of the ash ended up in our pool, in our backyard, in our back porch, which we did not appreciate. So
Sure.
I just want you to make a note, Troy, because you're leading this project on the design side for the landscape, that it's not a good idea to be burning back there when you're clearing land for that phase one. All the
Okay.
impact goes to the Echo Estates neighbors and the preserved Echo Estates neighbors.
Okay.
It may also go to Battleground Academy, to that player field that's to the south of you. But anyway, we don't, that's going to be a contention for us. The developer chooses to burn back there.
Okay. That's good to note. Thank you.
Thank you. We're not. I'm the president of the board at the Preserve at Echo, and I'm speaking for myself and the other board members. We're not anti-development at all. As long as the property values that you're planning to build, which it appears they are, and the lot sizes are, good and equivalent and appropriate for the neighborhood and our neighborhood and the Echo Estates neighborhood, which it appears that it is, and appears from a design perspective. That's the goal. That's the target. It adds value to the whole neighborhood. We do not want to be a pass-through neighborhood from a travel and road perspective, but that is not your issue. That's the issue for the next developer for the 17 acres that we'll have to address. But you will give him egress and ingress on your road to exit on Barry's Chapel. Is that fair?
Yes, sir. We are stubbing up there as a requirement from the city.
Thank you.
I have one more question.
Sure.
You were talking about you are protecting the private cemetery.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How will that be done? Because they were friends of ours.
Yeah. So if I remember, it's either 2 or 3 headstones that were there. I think it's 2.
It's 2. It's Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, who owned all of this 50 years ago.
I see. Yeah, so we have, I don't know, I don't have the exact number in front of me. I believe it's 75 feet buffer here between the property line. It will actually be located behind lot 14, but we are proposing a pedestrian access, and that will be in an easement. So you could take the trail up to the cemetery and visit the cemetery.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Were there questions from anyone else?
Yeah, Troy, just one more quick question. Can you talk about what those amenities are in the orange space that you're
Yeah, so
speaking
I think that's sure. So I think that's still a little bit to be determined. Right now, I know that the owner and developer, he is looking at building an indoor sports court. He's, is that tennis or basketball or pickleball or something of that nature? And he may have some outdoor fields as well. It kind of just depends on how much space he has to work with and how all that lays out. We have not designed that yet, but that's kind of his initial thoughts on what would go there.
Okay. Troy,
But
would you be concerned?
it is intended for the private use of the neighborhood. It's not going to be,
Right.
people from outside the neighborhood coming to it.
Right. Would you be concerned in that space, in that area for that neighborhood and the related neighborhoods on the other side of Echo Estates of a noise issue with a pickleball, if that was the choice? Would that concern you as a landscape architect?
So I think his intention is to have it's an indoor facility. So he would have an indoor sports court.
Thank you.
You're
Hey,
welcome.
Just a follow-up question to that. Would there be a parking area for that amenity indoor court or outdoor lighting surrounding the amenity?
Sure. Again, we have not designed that area yet. We've just kind of set aside a space for an amenity. I would imagine that he would want some type of parking at that location. And so if that were the case, we would have to follow whatever the city's requirements are for lighting that space for safety.
Got it. Yeah, I would just have a concern with maybe the noise pollution and hours of operation when people are coming and going. It's right in our backyard.
Right.
Very visible. So
Yeah, I understand that. And again, and maybe I don't think I went through this. The owner of the property, I think it's one of the other neighbors mentioned earlier, is part owner of McAllister's Deli, and he's planning to build this site as a neighborhood for his family. So he may build his own personal home here, and then possibly be gifting lots to family members. So the idea would be that this is not necessarily exclusively, but it may be exclusively his family living here. So it's not, and also it's a 16 lot neighborhood. So it's not like this is, 150 people using an amenity center. It should be a relatively low volume of people coming and using these amenities. Were there any other questions?
Can you put the dates up for those readings again, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I think we will just thank everyone for coming out tonight and for your input and your questions and your interest in the project. And I hope I was able to answer all of your questions adequately.
Thank you, Troy.
All right. Everyone have a good night.
thank you. See ya.
Thank you.